Hi everyone, my name is Ryan, and I'm the midlife skier. With my ski addiction in full bloom, I managed to arrange a ski trip with my wife to Whistler Blackcomb in British Columbia, Canada. Whistler Blackcomb is very big and known to be very steep. One local we spoke with called it an aggressive mountain, which I think was a really good description. I worried if we as intermediate to advanced skiers would be able to have fun on such a big, intimidating mountain. Today I'm going to go through our Whistler Blackcomb ski experience, the good and the bad. Day 3, a Sunday, started off promising. The rain had stopped and much colder temperatures had come through. The wind was picking up a bit, but the clouds were finally parting and visibility was finally pretty good, even up at the top of the mountain. The night before had been the changeover to daylight savings. I had hoped that would catch some people and make the mountain not so crowded. Boy, was that wrong. We did the Whistler side again since I was excited to finally get up to the top and enjoy the views on this clear day. As usual, we caught the gondola right at opening at 8:30 a.m. and rode it up. Before the gondola got to the top, the Whistler gondola that is, we began hearing a major problem, the intense scraping sound on the slopes under us. All of the rain from the day before had now flash frozen over the entire mountain. Any little bits of powder not flash frozen in ice were being blown away by the stronger winds. Basically, the mountain had turned into a giant block of ice overnight.
A lot of ice.
On top of this, with the daylight savings having just kicked in, the mountain was getting far less sunshine in the morning, so nothing was even close to softening up. It would be several hours. The other massive issue with the daylight saving switchover was that the grooming team apparently lost an hour of grooming time. Large areas, even green beginner areas, were ungroomed when we got to the top. We had just skied in Vermont a couple weeks earlier with plenty of icy East Coast conditions, but the steepness and size at Whistler made the challenge much bigger. Needless to say, my wife quickly came to the conclusion that skiing was not going to be fun for her in these conditions. We skied back down to the Whistler Gondola Mid Station, where she downloaded back to the village for a break day. It was so icy that she had a nasty fall just walking into the mid station. There was solid ice all around the ramp leading into the station. After downloading my wife, I decided to keep skiing for a while. With the good visibility, my one big goal for the day was to get up on top of Whistler Peak, see the view, and ski down. I caught the Whistler Gondola mid-station back up to the top. Once I got to the top, there was another immediate problem. The Peak Express chair still wasn't open, even though it should have opened a half hour earlier. Apparently, they needed to do some avalanche control work, so it was going to be a while before the chair would open. Instead of just standing around for an hour, I decided to go lap the Emerald Express chair. Big mistake. Since it was Sunday and the weather had cleared, apparently the entire city of Vancouver had decided to come ski that day.
There we go. Shit. Okay, I'm going this way. Together. Okay. Well. sticking to greens today.
Once I got to the bottom of the Emerald Chair, there was a massive 20-minute line. And that was just for single riders. It was long though for groups. The single rider line came well out of the maze. While I waited there, a lady in front of me in line got totally taken out by a careless snowboarder coming down the slope. After this happened, I was like, nope, and I just started skiing again. I made my way down to the Garbanzo Express lift, which, of course, also had a massive line. Even in the single rider line, I waited over 20 minutes. Another recurring thing I first noticed while in line here that happened throughout the day was an unusual number of lift misloadings. I had skied over 30 days this season and not seen a single person misload a lift and then fall off, luckily soon thereafter. I saw it for the first time while waiting in this lift line and would see it 3 more times on this day. Fortunately, none of these people were injured, but when this happens, the lift has to be shut down. The person, of course, helped up, checked out, and then the liftee had to get out a report and fill it out with the person standing there before the lift could start again. It was a minimum 3 to 5 minute process before the lift started running again. On top of the crowds, it was a killer. Once I made it up Garbanzo, I still needed another lift to get to the upper mountain. Knowing Emerald was really bad, I skied over to Big Red hoping it was up and running. It had been inexplicably closed earlier due to maintenance, even though it's the only way up when you get off the top of the Creekside gondola. Luckily, at this time it was up and the line was short. Once back up at the upper mountain, I needed to warm up because it got cold, really cold. So I ducked into the lodge real quick. I was able to see that the Peak Express had finally opened. I went back out and quickly skied down to the Peak Express, where the line was unsurprisingly long, although not terrible. It was about 15 minutes in the single rider line. As I finally rode the Peak Express up, the scenery was absolutely stunning, and it quickly became terrifying. I'll admit that maybe skiing isn't the best sport for someone afraid of heights, but it really hadn't been an issue before other than one scary lift ride at Beaver Creek. By the time I got up to the top, I was instantly ready to head down as quickly as I could.
Yo, how's there ski tracks up there? What the heck? Wow. I can feel this. ripping it down. It's just yeah, bro. That's so crazy. It's just like butt fucking to think about dropping that.
Yeah. I'm good.
I figured my best way down was using Matthews Traverse, a green cat trail that takes you over to the Symphony side of the mountain via another green trail called Burnt Stew, which was another place I wanted to check out. As I made my way down, I began to relax and actually enjoy the beautiful views somewhat. Once I reached it, I cut over to the blue run, Jeff's Ode to Joy. Though the signage in this area was non-existent, and I wasn't really sure I was on the correct run until reaching the bottom of the lift. I guess because it's above the tree level and it's an open alpine area, and I'm sure there are avalanches regularly there, I guess they go very light on the signs, because they probably just get wiped out, I assume. This run was a really fun run, especially with the trees near the bottom. It really reminded me of Grand Review and Big Rock Park at Vail, which I had just skied the week before.
I'm sure there's more of that ahead. It's like an easier line. Body. Where I'm at. Of course.
Speaking of the Symphony Express lift, there was another unsurprisingly massive lift line waiting for me once I got down to it. It was waiting in line here that I saw two more lift misloads, dramatically slowing things down. Again, I don't know why it was all of a sudden this day in this place at this time, but it was just crazy. People could not get on the lifts, and I don't know if it was the people. I don't know if there was something with the conditions or the lifts or the snow around the lifts. I don't know, but it was just unbelievable how many times this was happening. To pass the time while waiting, people were putting their poles or hands up in the air, which at first I was like, what the heck are they doing? But what would happen is the birds there in the forest around this lift would actually come land on your hand or your pole and hang out on you for a minute or two. It was pretty cool, and I've never seen anything like it. It only happened at this one lift for whatever reason. After another terrifying high alpine lift ride to the top of Symphony, I made my way down Upper Jeff's Ode to Joy and finally figured out how to get back over to Burnt Stew. Our instructor the day before had warned us that you needed to be prepared for moguls at any time at Whistler. This turned out especially true for this day, as several portions of Jeff's Ode to Joy were totally ungroomed, even though they showed as groomed on the trail map. I had my one bust of the trip on one of these mogul areas trying to get back over to Burnt Stew.
Got it. I'll get out of here. Ooh. Take this.
Once back on Burnt Stew, I figured I would stop at the Harmony lift and ride it up since that was also on my list. However, once I got to Harmony and saw yet another 20-minute plus lift line, I decided to just keep going. It was 12:30, I hadn't eaten at all that day, and I wanted to check on my wife. So I just kept going and skied all the way down to the Whistler Base Village. It took me about 25 minutes from the top of Symphony to get all the way down. I just followed the route our instructor had shown me the day before once I got to the mid to lower mountain to get down. And yeah, I had a couple of missed turns, but no major issues. I wrapped up the day by turning in my skis to the My Epic Gear store around 1 p.m.